Welcome to Holding Space. Michael Zen is a visual producer and creative photographer using his imaginative visionary energy to channel Zen and hold space for spiritual and innovative discussion. Each episode creates a supportive, accepting, and open environment that allows exploration and expertise to come together with engaging and entertaining convergence. With guest and community all helping the shape of the way, Michael is grateful to be together to hold space. Now here is your host of Holding Space, Michael Zen.
Yes, it's true. Oh, look at that. I'm so tiny. Yes, it's true. I am grateful to be here, to be holding space with you, for you, against you, for you, against you, with you, all of those things. That means that it's Tuesday night. Today is actually May. What is it? May 5th. Oh, it was the May the 4th be with you yesterday. So welcome. I'm excited to be holding space today. I see right in the front row, my good friend Arnie, always eager to be here and pulls up a front row seat every time. Great to see you. And me and my shadow as well. Great to see you and the beautiful Nancy Muratala from the Sacred Spiral Network, which is where you are right now. We're on, I think, 9 different destinations throughout the Sacred Spiral Network. The Sacred Spiral Network channel itself, Kelly's channel, Jennifer Rose's channel. I think there's a Psychic Medium Network channel that we're out on. All sorts of places that you guys are watching right now. So thank you guys if you are here sharing your energy. I see Mandy Johnson out there. Thank you for showing up. Drinko de Mayo. Arnie says, yeah, remember that growing up, like there were all these holidays just to drink, getting messed up. What a different life it is when you start getting older and you stop getting messed up and you start just being. Anyway, let's get this party started. I'm excited to be here and excited to hold space for somebody new to me, which is cool. Somebody who's been making a little bit of the rounds, I think, on the Sacred Spiral Network. I've seen her on a couple of shows and doing a little research. I have some questions, which is pretty cool. And Mallory's out there saying, please read me. I actually haven't spoken to my guest yet. I'm imagining she might do some readings live. I know that's here on the Sacred Spiral Network, but I always like to ask. So we'll see. Possibly some readings here tonight. But thank you for showing up anyway. And hopefully we will do those. But before we do that, let's set the space. Let's make the intention for all amazing things, right? This moment is ours. We're creating reality. We've all shown up. Let's all just focus our energy and do the 3 breaths. I call them the 3 breaths. And that is really just 60 seconds of grounding, of intention, of just getting on that same page by doing breathing, something that happens all day long. We don't think about it. It's just happening, keeping us alive. But I feel like personally, when we focus on that moment, the breath coming in through our nose and we feel it filling up our lungs and like we connect with that moment, and then we intentionally release and we feel the release as well. We feel our shoulders slink down a little bit. We sink down into the seat. I feel like that's important, and I love doing it with you guys. Arnie, thank you for reminding me. Hashtag live is the secret password. If you type in hashtag live, you're tickling the algorithm, growing the community, telling them, hey, invite some other people down, and maybe we'll have a little bit of a cool conversation. So let's first do the 3 breaths with my co-host, Sage, my singing bowl here. What's up, Charlene? Good to see you. And, do it at your own pace. I'll kind of guide breathing in and breathing out. But, if you do 3 seconds instead of 4, if you do 5 seconds instead of 4, that's cool too. I try to do 4 in, a little bit of a hold, and then that intentional push out. So let's all do it together. Here we go. In through the nose, up to the top of the breath, and then let it out. Feel your body sink, relax. Do another in. Up at the top, hold it for just a second. And then release it. Feel it release, intentionally release. Last one together. Release. I like when they do it, breathwork class, they all go, and they do a nice sigh and let it out. And there's Sage is still going. I don't know if you can hear her. I gotta check on the recording one day and see if you can guys still hear Sage as she's going. Anyway, thank you for indulging me. If you did it with me, thank you for doing it with me. We are here and we are ready to go. So I was doing some research. Kelly has been graciously booking the guests for me. I love interviewing a lot of the Sacred Spiral hosts. It's always amazing conversation. Really, I think I started the live stream of consciousness as kind of an exploration and kind of getting to talk to a lot of my metaphysically gifted friends. And then I loved meeting new people and exploring. And now I just really love holding the space. I love just kind of setting up this little stage. You guys pull up your chairs. We have a conversation. We get to share our little puzzle piece. That's from the live stream. Everybody has a puzzle piece that's a part of the big picture. We get to share it, and we get to see it, and we get to experience what it is, and we get to see the big picture a little bit clearer. So tonight's guest is her name is Laurie Mckeogh, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Smith. She is a psychic medium. She does live events. She does classes. She does readings, oracle cards, all sorts of the metaphysical stuff that we love. And she's also, I think, this is what I found, from Long Island, which is where I am right now. I'm going to find out right now as I bring her on, but I did see a picture of her on one of the local radio stations, WGBB. So let's bring her on and find out right now. Welcome to Holding Space, Laurie Mckeogh Smith. What's happening? Your mic is muted.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. I didn't know you were in Long Island.
I am in Long Island, absolutely. And your name sounded very familiar to me. I feel like we've probably crossed paths. I mean,
Ah,
I have a lot of, like I said, metaphysical friends. I'm in kind of that community here on Long Island. I know there's a few different pockets,
yeah,
of people and events and things that happen. So I feel like I know you, but WGBB specifically is interesting to me because when I was a younger guy, like in my 20s, like just doing like whatever work came my way, I remember going into the radio station and taking down the asbestos hanging ceiling. Like the ceiling tiles were like all asbestos,
really.
so we were like all masked up and restoring the seal or taking it down so they can restore the ceiling in that in
Oh,
that
interesting.
yeah, in that
Yeah, I
radio
was on
station.
a guest on the show for quite a few weeks, and I'm actually going to be starting my own show on the Nassau Community College station soon. Hopefully by June, maybe June,
Nice.
July. That's in the
Very
works. We're
cool.
planning that now.
Very cool. And what's the show? What's the show all about?
That's what we're working on.
Okay.
Going to be about, being psychic and doing some readings.
Cool. Cool.
Teaching a
Cool.
little bit about energy, taking some questions, relationship questions, stuff like that.
Awesome. Awesome. Energy, I think, is my favorite thing to talk about energy and how it corresponds in so many different ways to so many different things. It's everything,
Absolutely.
frequency, energy, all of that. So that's kind of what brought me to this. I never expected to be sitting in front of a camera as a host of a show. I'm always producing shows for other people, and I
Okay.
just kind of a friend of mine asked me to co-host, and I ended up just kind of feeling it, and
Just doing
it was
it.
just amazing to connect and just have these conversations. And what a great time, right, to be a psychic right now. I think it's people are so much more open to it. I think people are really kind of experiencing it themselves, right? It's almost like
Hmm.
a shared thing among the community because people, I think, experience it, and then because I think their mind opens to it, it starts to come through them. And it's always really
A lot.
interesting to
And then
see. Yeah.
it's disappointing because there's still, a lot of people that are afraid of it, or they think it's something scary and
Right.
weird and strange, but
Right.
that's
Well,
okay.
I'm excited because I know there's a community of people, and again, platforms like this, like you're doing a show, like more conversations are happening. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That I think should be happening. So I'm excited about that. My wife is a Reiki master practitioner, and I'm always surprised when I say Reiki and someone doesn't know what that even means. They
Yeah,
haven't heard it. I'm
absolutely.
I'm I'm surprised because I'm in the community, but
Hmm.
it is true. There's definitely a lot of people who are not aware of, kind of the things that this community, you know,
Yeah.
kind of subscribes to and
Hmm.
lives on, the philosophies of. Um,
Absolutely.
so Arnie is actually asking if you'll be at the Eyes of Learning on May 17th. I'm imagining there's an event going there. Are you familiar with the Eyes of
Oh,
Learning?
I don't think I'm going to be there this year. But
Not
yes,
going to be.
that's where I met him last year.
Ah, okay. Oh, so you know Arnie. I didn't know that you knew
Hmm.
Arnie. Awesome.
Yeah, I
Arnie's
think he
great.
was. Does he have cards? Does he sell cards?
Arnie is a tarot, has a few different tarot decks,
Okay. I
among
think
other
that's how we
things. Yeah.
bonded. I have my own two decks as well.
Nice. Yes, I love that. I love that. I actually,
I need to
uh,
get you a deck.
oh, nice. Look at that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And what is the like what's the medium? Are they photos of yours? Are they images that you collected? What's the
These are just images I collected. I kind of love them. It's sort of like a Victorian looking, I don't know. Of course, we have roses.
let me make you bigger. Hold on. There we go.
There we go.
Oh, nice.
And then um, these happen to be all women, but men can use them too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
And then,
interesting. Yeah, go ahead. Keep going. Let me see what else you
oh,
got.
sorry. No, I have another deck, which is all chairs. This one's pretty interesting. All different seats.
Wow.
Yeah.
You just sparked this thing in me, right? Because I don't know if you know, but I've been working on this app with AI that allows you to actually generate your own deck, whether it be a tarot deck, an oracle deck, or an angel deck, based on kind of like your ideas and things that you like, and
Yeah.
you could describe the essence of the deck, and then you can describe the art style. So it can be look like
Oh, that's
stained
cool.
glass, it can look like a drawings. I
Yeah.
did one that looks like child's crayon drawings, like
Hmm.
really, really cool stuff. And I just love the whole idea of not just tarot, but other decks as energetic totems, you know what I mean, that
Yeah,
people
for
connect
sure.
with, and that whole process, right, of like just
Hmm.
kind of randomly picking a card or shuffling the deck and one jumps out at you, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like I feel like that's such a true, authentic connection with energy,
yeah. I'm just
very, very
about
cool.
ready to have these on my website as a digital deck that you can, purchase and have, pull a card every day or
Awesome.
every hour, whatever you want.
Awesome. I love that. And I feel like also like there's so many layers to that, right? Because I feel like one, creativity is one channel, right? Direct to source. And then I feel like intention is another channel direct to source. So like creating these decks, I feel like is an act of almost creating this energetic consciousness, right? That exists as a deck
Yeah,
that people can
for sure.
then take and move on with it. It's really awesome. So I really want to figure out where I know you from, Lori. I definitely feel like we've crossed paths. Um, tell me about, did you grow up on Long Island?
I did. I grew up in Elmont,
Okay.
um, and now I'm near the beach. And yeah, I did. I lived for a couple of years in Pennsylvania, but then I came back.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I feel like I don't know that many mediums local because of Zoom. We're all over the world, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I love that.
And
And I
people
love,
always say, "Oh, do you know this person or that one?" And I'm kind of like, no.
Well, you know what? Again, your name sounded very familiar to me, and I definitely run the gamut of like circles, right? Spiritual circles. There's
Hmm.
definitely a few different places that we may have crossed paths. The Empowered Path Expos, or one,
Oh, maybe. I think I was there a couple of times.
yeah, and I think we've all dip our toes right in each other's little ponds, and
Yeah.
and and can make the connections with the people who resonate with us. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I think that's how we all grow. Hello to Sasha Ralph out there. Good to see people still showing up. Brian Lahr, my favorite wizard, is out there. Nice to see you too. Janine Barker, sorry, from Australia. I love that. You were just talking about Zoom and like the world, right? It's all worldwide. That's one of the things I love about this platform and doing this kind of thing is just connecting with so many people, just based on like the vibe and the content, that we're
Hmm.
talking about, which is great. And there's our awesome Kelly Brickle out there
Ellie.
as well. So, all right. So tell me, you grew up in Elmont on Long Island. Tell me, how did
Hmm.
you get into this metaphysical world? Is it something that you've always experienced as a kid? Do you have an experience where you
No,
remember
not at
like,
all. My brain broke one day. My life came to a screeching halt. I had an autoimmune disease
oh,
that was affecting my brain. I had a near death experience.
mm,
Saw the light. And as I was recovering, I started knowing things that other people didn't know. And people would kind of look at me strange and say, "How did you know that?" And I'd say, "I don't know. How didn't you know that?" It was just something that came natural, more natural than things in the everyday life.
hmm.
Oh, thanks, Kelly. Yeah, when
So
I was
I,
go
I
ahead.
was just what was like what was the first thing that you felt like you knew that other people didn't know, or did you not know that other people, like you said, you almost didn't know that other people didn't
Right.
know until you
Well, I had
said, wait a second.
I did have a lot of people helping me recover. Physically, I was okay, but I was sort of like an Alzheimer's patient. I couldn't cook, couldn't drive,
Wow.
and I had little kids. So that was about 2 years. So I had
Wow.
people in and out of the house, speech therapists, occupational therapists, and all that stuff. So someone showed a picture of a barbecue during the weekend. They said, "Oh, I had a barbecue. Here's, a picture of my family." And I looked at it and I said, "Oh, how's that's your dad? How's he doing since the heart surgery?" She said, "How did you know he had heart surgery?" And I said, "Well, he's got a scar on his chest." And she said, "He's wearing a shirt." And I said, "Oh, all right. I don't know. I just saw it." And
Somehow
then
you
things like that
imagine,
just kind of
yeah.
happened, a few times. And then I had one young guy helping me out, and he looked kind of down one day and said he was having some relationship issues. And I said, "Can I try something?" And I told him all about it and all about, the very detailed things about him and people that passed away.
Hmm.
And he was standing and he looked at me and all the color drained from him and he looked like he was going to pass out. And I said, "I got to stop doing this to people." It was just something that came natural. I didn't really understand it at the beginning.
Sure, sure.
So then someone said, "You're a medium." And I said, "No, I'm not. What's that?" And here I am. So I
Yeah,
never looked back on my old life.
yeah, amazing. And I can, as you were telling that story, like I always talk about how I have this psychic fetish, right? Which is
Yeah.
because I have friends that are mediums, I don't personally like want to go to a psychic and ask questions and talk to my dad or whatever,
Yeah.
but I love being around psychics who are giving
That's
readings
so
because
funny.
of that energy that's
Hmm.
exchanged, and even like, not even like personally being told something, but watching those exchanges, right, where a medium is telling a sitter, uh sitter, is that's what you call, that's what you call,
Yeah.
right,
So
the
that's
person that you're reading is the sitter. um like telling them something that, the color, like that feeling, like I can almost feel that color drain, like my
yeah.
body drain of the color, and yeah,
And then
that's
they'll say,
amazing.
"How did you know that?" And I'll say, "Well, I'm psychic.
Yeah, yeah, and
That's what we do."
that's amazing. That's amazing. So it just kind of came to you, and you embraced it, and here we are on a show talking
And
about it.
here,
And you also, you have an amazing website, and also magazine, which is pretty cool.
yes.
I mean, I'm a creative director and graphic designer myself, so it's like I've been
Oh,
involved in a few magazines, and magazines are always so much fun to create, and
for
especially
sure.
I feel like when it's something like you're passionate about, right? Like
Yes.
something like this whole thing. So edifyyoursoul.com. Let me switch the banner so people can see the URL there. But Edify Your Soul. So tell us about the magazine. How did that come about?
I love bringing people together. I'm the most curious person on the planet, I say.
Hmm.
And I tell people, I'm not nosy, I'm just curious. I want to know how people work and how they think. So the magazine is really a way to bring people together, to share their knowledge. And there's some really great interviews on there. So you could see we interviewed the family of Gabby Petito.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
the honor of reading for them.
Hmm. That's very cool.
Um, yeah,
Tell
that
me
was
what that was like. Tell me
amazing.
tell me about tell me about reading for like such a, well-known case.
You know, um, this might sound controversial and I might regret it in a few minutes, but I'm going to go for it anyway.
Ooh.
Um, every reading is sacred, and I'm not very um, verbal and out there about it.
Hmm.
Someone's loss is someone's loss. A life is a life. Any life is important.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
there's we a few of us read them, and some of the mediums were from England. Um, Simone Key was part of it, and she had never heard of Gabby.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it
Blind,
was,
like not knowing any
and they
details.
were like, "How didn't you know?" And she was
Mhm.
like, "Well, I live here." And a lot of us kind of live under a rock. That's what
Mhm.
I feel like. We don't pay a whole lot of attention to the news and the outside world because there's just so much we experience, during our readings and stuff.
Mhm.
So it
Mhm.
was amazing. It was an honor. And, um, when people hear that, sometimes they're shocked and they're like, I didn't see you. And why aren't you on TikTok and this and that and the other? And there's a lot of people out there that have
Mhm.
either read for them or just saying they've connected and stuff. And it's sacred. I keep it private. Every reading is private and personal, and I'm honored to read for anyone.
Awesome. No, that's totally. I don't think that's controversial at all. I think that's very honorable, and very
Well, just like not
respectful.
out there as much. Some people sort of I just actually watched a video that John Edward did, and he was talking about, mediums that sort of celebrate themselves and get so excited when they get something. And
Hmm.
he said, if you're celebrating yourself and you stop a reading and say, wow, I got that, he said, that's your ego. You should
Hmm.
be getting that.
Hmm.
You're a medium. You should be
Hmm.
getting good
Hmm. Hmm.
evidence. You should know
Hmm.
things that other people would never know.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, I've done a lot of things like that. I done some work with private detectives and different things that I just don't really put out there. So,
I love that, and again, I feel like that's really honorable, and kind of almost like a testament to your authenticity, right? It's
yeah.
I certainly feel like as I was saying, I feel like we're in a time where people are kind of coming into their gifts, but that also opens the door to a lot of, charlatans and a lot of, absolutely, I'm not afraid to address that, right? It's
Yeah.
very difficult. I'm sure it's very difficult. And, for me, I take it for granted sometimes because I'm very kind of empathetic and very sensitive. So I resonate with the people that I resonate with, right? I
Yeah.
don't know if he's watching right now, but I have a friend who, and this may be controversial too, but let's talk about it, right?
Yeah, sure.
I have a friend who sent me a video of this one woman, I forget her name, who has she works with divining rods,
Okay.
and she was bringing up Bashar, who I happen to like, and saying, is Bashar good or evil? Is he authentic or not? And she
Yeah.
was kind of debunking Bashar and saying, oh, she thinks that he's evil and all of this stuff. And I take everything with a grain of salt. I feel like whether or not Bashar is actually channeling and connecting with an alien entity or not, his
Yeah.
message to me is amazing. The vibration of
Hmm.
what he says is amazing. For me, I
Right.
think it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that my friend said when I talked to him about Bashar. He's like, "Well, that's just common sense," and I'm like, "Yeah, but that's a message, right? Because a lot of
Right.
people, like you said, a lot of people don't have common sense. A lot of people live under a rock or whatever,
Yeah.
right? So." Um, I said, how do you know that this lady is authentic? You know what I mean? That's debunking him. Like, it's
Yeah.
all like what you resonate with. You gotta like believe what you believe. And I felt like I understood what he was saying, right? Like, there's a certain, and it's almost what you were saying. There's a certain aspect and level that you get to. Elizabeth April was also somebody that was brought up who I also happen to like a lot of the things she says, but there was one day that I was watching her and she was talking about how you need to disconnect from your identity, right? Not you don't own it. You don't, like, and then see more on my YouTube channel for $11. You know what I mean? It was just like
Yeah.
the energy was so like hypocritical to me or something, and it was like I still respect the message, right? That she gives
Yeah.
that resonate with me, but maybe it's not all of it, right?
For
And
sure.
and and that's okay. I take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
I can only take accountability for my own thoughts and beliefs and things that I say.
For
Uh,
sure.
um,
People are really getting caught up in, I think, rules. The more people that are becoming psychic or realizing they're psychic, people are doing it all different ways. Like you said, um, the rods, people use pendulums and things like that. And I love once Tony Stockwell said, if you're sitting there swinging a pendulum, but you're helping and you're authentic, what's the difference? You
exactly.
know,
That's exactly
and I
the
love
point.
that. And I
Yeah,
teach classes. I love teaching. And I say the best way, the first and best way to know if you're doing well is, did the person leave feeling better than they did when they first met you? Let's start with that. We're healers, we're teachers. Sometimes we're just going to hold space for them. Sometimes we're going to talk about grief. In that moment during a reading, I tell them, you are the most knowledgeable person there. You're the one talking about spiritual things. So, however you can help them is how you should help them.
absolutely. A million percent. And actually Angelo is watching. I didn't want to mention his name. I didn't want to insult him. And I hope you're not insulted, Angelo. I am not insulting you in any way, shape, or form. I've had some amazing conversations with Angelo where he's asking me questions and making me think.
Yeah.
Really making me think. And he presented this stuff to me because he wanted to know what I thought. And that's what I thought. I was like, hey, I take Bashar with a grain of salt, but why am I going to believe this woman necessarily that's
Yeah.
like pulling him down, and that also speaks to what you were just saying, like the energy she was bringing to the table was like, why would you need to pull someone else down, right? And say, oh, are they good?
Hmm.
Are they bad? Let whoever's listening receive it the way they receive it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you know, yes,
And yeah, just be authentic. And we don't need to be better than each other. There's plenty of dead people to go around to read, and there's plenty of living people that need our support.
totally, totally, absolutely. So, okay, so you became a psychic medium. You started reading. You put a magazine together. You obviously are living a life of service, right? And service to others. You
Hmm.
like bringing people together. You like to make people feel good. Um, and I feel that's like probably the best path you could
Yeah.
choose. So I love when people do
I
that.
like to, I like for people to feel like they're being seen. We're
Wow.
witnessing their life.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest gifts that you can receive from a reading, validation.
absolutely.
Your life
Absolutely. And you know,
matters, your experiences matter.
it's so funny because as you were saying that, I was like, holy crap, that's why I love doing this, right? Because I'm holding
Yeah,
space. I'm holding space for you and allowing you to
right.
be seen, right? And it makes
Yeah,
me feel so
absolutely.
good, especially with this community, again, the Sacred Spiral that has just created this amazing community of people who just all support each other. I loved it when I first came on. It was like, whoa, these are psychics who are going to watch other psychics and get readings
Yeah,
from other psychics, and that was
yeah,
like just really cool. Everybody just
for sure.
sharing their energy. What's up, Mallory? Good to see you. Thank you for coming in here. Um, so I don't know what else to ask you. This is, I mean, again, I feel like I know you. I want to start like mentioning names, but I know that's not even like necessarily the thing. Do you have any, maybe, do you have any mentors that you worked with, maybe, that kind of helped you develop your intuition and kind of really understand how to navigate, or
Um, I
you just do it by
actually
yourself?
am a little bit the exception to the rule. I started doing readings without doing classes, and I tell people, no, don't do that, don't do that. But it honestly became just something so natural for me.
Sure.
The first class I took, actually, I came very close to quitting.
Really?
So I had a little bit of a different experience, but it taught me how to teach. And I teach people how to work best for them. We're all different. There's not one way to do it. Um,
I love what you're saying.
so I still do. I think I did it even more back then. I use music to connect.
Oh, I
So
love
I
that.
would ask someone for the name of a song that reminds them of their loved one. And I remember one of the first paid readings I did, I listened to the song and it was in person. And I got up and showed her how she danced with her grandfather in his hospital bed. And that was
Wow.
amazing. And then I went to a class and we were talking, and I said, oh, well, I use music. Um, and he said, why would you do that? I said, it's just what comes natural to me. And he said, you don't do that. That's wrong. And I got so upset. I left. I was crying and I was
Wow.
going to quit. But that was actually a gift because
I totally get it 1,000,000%.
it was a
Like
gift. Yeah.
you were like, Why would you tell someone they're wrong?" And that's something that I profess, and I think is one of my philosophies is I can't deny anybody of their own experience. So when I
Yeah.
have people on my shows who have these extraordinary experiences, I'm listening with true curiosity, not like with any judgment, like, or anything to say other than, what was that like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. And Angelo is actually, he's saying, I give your friend red roses. Is there any significance for
Whose
red
friend are you
roses.
talking about? Me or?
You are my friend, yes. And
Oh,
Angelo occasionally has these senses, and he's like,
well,
"What's with the what's with?"
I'm obsessed with roses. I think I may have been a rose in a past life. I don't know.
Oh,
So
there you go. There you go. That's
you can see
and
they're on me today.
there you go. And there you go, Angelo. Hopefully that's some good validation for you, Angelo.
But
Angelo is he's amazing because he's always questioning like, I need proof. I need proof. Give me some proof. Give me some proof. And
me too.
meanwhile he's experiencing it himself.
Yes,
And
I'm a
it's just
medium
like,
and I'm skeptic. I'm always skeptic.
oh
And
yeah,
I say,
okay.
I always ask spirit or my guides, whatever I'm doing, I always ask for proof. And that's how I teach. I say, why should someone listen to you if you can't prove in some way that you're connected to them or
Hmm.
connected, excuse
Hmm.
me, to spirit?
Right.
But I have a good story about energy because we were
Yeah,
talking
let's
about
hear it.
energy before and how to understand it. I took me a very long time to understand energy. Like, what is that? If you can't see it, if you can't touch it. I had this many years ago. I had gone for an MRI, and I wasn't too thrilled about laying there. And it was an open one, but I still wasn't very happy with being in a cage or whatever.
Sure.
So the woman was chatting. She asked what I do. I told her I'm a medium, and she's like, "Oh, if you get anything, let me know." So while we were sitting there, it was like the floodgates open. I told her all of this stuff and really, really specific. And she looked at me and said, "No, like I can't take any of that." I was like, "Whoa." For me, I usually either connect or I don't. I
Okay.
usually don't go into so much detail and be wrong. So that was unusual for me.
Okay.
Uh, so I was kind of like, And she said, "Wait a minute." And she ran over to her computer and she said, "You just described the patient that was laying there right before you."
Wow.
So I went into the medical stuff and all of these things that she was dealing with. And I said, "Okay, that's what energy is."
Wow. Amazing. So you felt
She
the
she was
residue.
there. And because it
Mhm.
was so early on for me, I didn't quite understand it. But
Wow.
yeah,
That's
I
really
think I get
cool.
it now.
That's amazing. And that's I mean that's a definite different level of energy, right? I think when you're actually sensing the energy of somebody who's left. But I love you when you started saying, "Oh, I have a story about energy." I remember I used to tell this story a lot on my show and just in describing energy, right? Because I'll talk about energy, and I'll tell someone about their energy, and they'll be like, "Why are you always talking about energy? Energy? What the heck?" You know what I mean? And I
Mm-hmm.
said, "Did you ever go to a football game or a concert and you walk in and there's this energy in the room because everybody there is there with this amazing intention, you know what I mean, that it's everybody's got this energetic level that they're there with, so you feel it as a collective." And I mean, that's it. I mean, I don't think anybody can deny that if they've ever been to, a stadium full of people, what the energy is like. And it's not always, I mean, I say it like it's a great thing. It is a great thing because it's so powerful, but I can also remember when I was younger, and probably because I'm sensitive to energy, like I didn't like being in crowds. Like it was too
Yes.
much. It was overwhelming to be in a
But you
crowded
probably didn't
space.
understand why.
I think, and now as I even said that out loud, now I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. Now I just understood it, and that's why the whole experience changed for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I understood it. And Ninja Kitty was saying, "Wow, incredible about your story."
And
Um,
maybe this is going to be story time because Arnie's saying I had an orb go
yeah,
across my right
I was.
shoulder.
Yes, I was just. So tell us another story, and then
Um,
are you down for doing readings? Do you do readings live? Would you be open for that?
sure, sure.
Cool. So, but
Speaking of
tell us the
orbs,
story
I
first. Yeah.
kind of used to think that was like, I don't know, orbs, maybe it's dust, whatever.
Hmm.
But I saw in the bio that you had on your advertisement, you included the story about how I came up with the name of my business, which is
Yes.
someone asking me, what are you doing to edify your soul? I have a friend in spirit, and he has saved my life while he was alive, and he's been there for me on the other side.
Amazing.
He was my biggest supporter, one of my biggest supporters, as I was going through depression. And then on the other side, there was a moment I had where you ever have one of those moments where you're just like done, not done like I wanted to cross over, but just done. I was stressed. I don't know what happened.
Sure.
I was screaming at my friend in spirit. And I said, if this is real, like if this is really real, then I want a sign. Why don't you give me a sign? Something like I give my clients. And I said, why don't you turn on my candles? So I sat there in the darkness and silence. And I have a candelabra I could show you. Every battery operated, every one of those candles went on. One at a
Battery
time.
operated. Okay, I was going to say that would be
You have
if
to
flames all of a
physically,
sudden.
right? You have to
Right.
physically twist them to turn them on.
Wow.
I had people examine them. Is there a timer? Is there anything? And no one found anything. And
Wow.
every single night since then, they have gone on.
Amazing.
So my dog, he's a medium as well. He helps me with my readings.
That's
And
cool.
I recorded him actually sitting up in my bed a couple of times, looking at the candles, and you just see orbs flying everywhere, and he's watching them.
Oh, wow.
So I should share that video one day. That's pretty wild.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I as a photographer, I also struggled with orbs, right? Because I know what lens flares are, I know what dust looks like, and it definitely can appear that way.
Yeah.
But I've seen some things where I couldn't quite explain it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And even I've seen pictures where like, you get this kind of chill, looking at the picture. You just kind of get a feeling, totally
Mm-hmm.
looking at it. Before we get into readings, I want to ask Angelo. It brings up, what is your take on reincarnation? Question from the audience.
Reincarnation. Now, wow. This is gonna sound like a strange question. I want to say, what do you mean by reincarnation? Do we come back? Do we have past lives? Absolutely. I'm aware of a few of my past lives, and they make so much sense. I think if you could only choose one thing to help you in this lifetime, like you had 1 hour with a medium, I might say have a past life reading.
Okay.
Because the validation it gives to some of the things that you've been dealing with. I mean, when I do them, they're always amazing. I'll bring up something. For example, I'll say, I feel like you died on a bridge in a past life, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so afraid of bridges. I didn't know why. So the validation, and it
Yeah.
also helps you. I know for me, it motivates me to try to keep going through the lessons. So I know I've dealt with depression in the last 2 lifetimes. This lifetime, I was like, let me fix it. Let me get this right. So when something comes along in this life, I'm like, all right, what do I need to learn? Let me get this going because I want to learn and move on to another lesson.
I love that, and I've definitely seen that happen. I've heard some amazing stories about, people who, got stung by bees in a past life, so they're like afraid of
Yeah.
bees in this life, things like that,
Yeah.
amazing things. And that's really interesting advice too. I've never heard anyone say that, like if you have an hour with a medium, rather than ask to talk to any past loved ones or anything like that,
I
like
just thought of that
ask
because
about
it's,
your
my past life or someone's past life is your life.
hmm
You know,
hmm
past life, someone in spirit, it's all connected. We keep doing this over and over. So that's what it feels like.
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I can definitely subscribe to that. And now you just actually made me think, interestingly, that somehow I am somebody's spirit guide in some dimension,
Would
kind
be.
of lower than
Yeah.
maybe I'm a rock's spirit guide, or like something
Mhm.
like that. But that's really cool. I love that. And Arnie says past lives are not only here on Earth, we're multidimensional. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
How do you,
Awesome.
I have a question. Can I
Yeah, go
ask you a
ahead.
question about your past life?
Sure.
You open
Yeah.
that. How do you feel about horses in this life? I'm going to ask you that way.
How do I feel about horses? Hmm.
Are they, are you,
They're not a big part of my life,
hmm
specifically horses. I mean, I definitely am connected with animals, so anytime I have been around horses, there's a lot of respect and a lot of wonder. I also I did actually energetically and spiritually connect with the idea of horses in the use for PTSD training, because I'm a photographer, and I was covering some event that was specifically related to that. So I got to kind of hear them explain the idea of how horses are very sensitive to your energy, and that, kind of being able to even be near a horse and kind of understand a horse and
yeah,
connect with a horse is very spiritual. It's a very energetic, spiritual kind of
right,
experience.
right. No, I
So,
feel like you did have a connection with them,
hmm, cool.
in a past life. And I could see you just being really connected to animals. I feel like you would be a natural animal communicator. Like if you look them in the eye or just connect with them, I feel like you could.
Interesting. I think I am. I think I have connected with animals on those kinds of levels.
Hmm
Not necessarily like messages coming through, but definitely connecting with the spirits and the souls, or the personalities, the
Yeah.
essence, the essence
Uh-huh.
of the animal. Really cool. I like that. Tell me more.
Um, I'm gonna send you that video in case you want to share any of it. Up to
Okay.
you. Um,
Okay.
so, but tell you more. Let's see. Have you ever been any kind of like, if not formally, um, a rescue worker, someone that really helps people? Like if there was an accident, would you be the one to get out and help, or would you just keep running, walking by?
Um, that's a good question. I think that's almost like circumstantial, or I don't know if how I would explain it, because I feel like there have been times where I have been that person, and there have
Yeah.
been times where I haven't. I mean, I guess I've never just been like look the other way. I've always been concerned, and like, maybe should I stop, should I
hmm
not? And maybe I was doing something that I really couldn't, or
Okay.
I didn't put that person in front of myself. Um,
How
but
about
interesting.
fires specifically?
Okay, so interestingly enough, as you were talking about that, I was going to reference my stepfather, who was at 19 became a firefighter in Astoria, Queens, and at 39 retired because he did his 20 years, and at 39 became an RN. And I always had a very deep respect for him for exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about. The fact that
Oh,
he would,
interesting.
yeah, he would put other people in front of himself, and just the idea of a firefighter or a nurse, like, needs
Yeah.
to be that very special type of person.
hmm
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Can we ask psychic questions? Can they ask psychic questions?
Yeah, absolutely. You tell me.
All right.
Can they? Can they? Go ahead. Maybe that was even a psychic question itself.
Maybe. And on your messenger, I sent you that video. If you ever want to show part of it, you don't have to do it
You sent
now.
it to me on my AOL.
On Messenger.
Oh, on Messenger. Let me take a
Check
look.
out the orbs, and then you decide if you want to share any of it.
Yeah,
I'll start the
I'll
readings.
put,
How's that?
well, yeah, cool. Take it.
You check it out. Let's see. Anne, what is your question, Anne? I'm kind of drawn to you. I'm curious to know. Let's see. Getting out. You want someone to help you out. Do you feel anything from me? Arnie, I feel eyes of learning. That's where we met, right? I do feel, Arnie, I remember you had cards, if I'm right. Remind me that that's the case. Correct? Arnie has his cards.
Yes, Arnie has created a few different decks, actually, and I think he still creates decks kind of all the time. He just created some new decks.
Arnie, I feel like you need to bust out of your bubble for some reason. I feel like the world doesn't know much about you and these cards. So let me pull you a card from Have a Seat. Elevate your perspective. So we have a ski lift chair. So, you know, if you look at the bigger picture, Arnie, it's not just about you made these cards, you want to sell them. It's about, if you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, what can these cards do for other people? It's a message. People probably, most definitely, would need to hear that message. So think about different ways to get it out there.
Love that.
So Carla, do you feel anything from me? Does my daughter have a message for me? I have her only son. She had 5 babies. Oh, I'm sorry for your loss, Carla. I feel like the message is sort of pointing to you. And when that happens, I see spirit and they point to you, which means talk about the person here. And I feel like a huge life lesson for you is perseverance. And, you know, when we have a really traumatic loss, we often think, like people say, we choose our own lives, you know, and who would have chosen this? And when I first heard that, I thought, wow, we must have mental illness on the other side, because who would have chosen these things we go through? But I was thinking about this the other day. And if you were given the choice of, you know, all these different lives, and your life was, you get to have this amazing love. It won't last that long, but you have the opportunity to experience this amazing love of being a mom. Even if there were trials and tribulations as we went along, you would never say, no, I don't want to feel that love if it's not going to last for the 90 years of my life or whatever. You'd say, sure, let me experience it. But then we come here and we sort of forget that. And we look at the deficit it brings to us. And it is a deficit. I mean, let's face it, death sucks. I'm not going to sit here and say it's amazing. Yes, we go on and we're still alive, but we're human and we're here and it sucks. Loss. But if you look at the bigger picture and know that you had that experience, and just hang on to the words of those of us that do have insight into the afterlife and know that you will be together again. It's only that bad temporarily. I hope that helps, Carla.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful message. So I do have the video. Let's take a quick look.
Did you check it out, the orbs?
Yeah. Let's bring up the video. And hold on.
So this is about 3 a.m. He just gets up, unprompted. And I'm like, what are you doing? And you just have to press play.
Yeah, it's go. Oh, why isn't it playing? It's playing in my window. Hold on a second. I don't know why it's not playing. Interesting. Let me see if I can open it in a different window.
Okay, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
Let's see. Arnie, selling them is not important. Yeah, Carla, I hope that helped. Let me see. I guess if you're on here, you're open. Would be cool to do past life readings. Yeah. I'm gonna pull one card for everyone. Adapt to what life offers. So we have a chair that's like broken and there's a seat underneath it. I love that. Adapt to what life offers.
Oop.
And if you look at it like we're being offered something, then it's kind of like, okay, what can I do with it? You know, what can I do with these gifts around me? So adapt to it. And again, instead of looking at it like what's missing. All right, you got the video up?
Well, I do. I got the video. Here we go.
My dog, maybe he'll go viral. So he sat up unprompted, and I'm like, what are you doing? So I got my camera out. I don't know why it went like that sideways, but we can all look like this.
Yeah, you turned your phone. Yeah.
And he starts.
I
he's
see
just
the orbs
watching,
flying all over the
like
place.
he's watching a movie, and those are the candles that go on every night.
And I see the orbs flying all over the place in the video.
And he's just watching it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And did you see the orbs, or they were just showing up on the phone, or did you see them?
Only on the phone. I figured let me, people said you can see a lot more on the camera. So I was like, I'm going to let's do this,
Yeah. And he's obviously seeing it.
Oh, yeah. I didn't tell him get up. Hey, what's that? It's, it was just me and him in there.
Yeah, it's like sparkles. I feel like it's like sparkles all over the place.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, like that right there, that was a little lens flare reflection from your flash for a second, but that was totally different than the other.
You can see the others, and even at the end it goes up, he follows them.
Who's there?
Yeah.
But I'll talk about him while we're watching it if you want. He he was absolutely sent to heal me.
Yeah, look at it. He's just like, hey, Laurie, check it out. Look what's going on.
Yeah.
Wow, and they're like sparkling all over the place. Arnie says, too cool. He saw the orb. You guys have a good video. I had no idea. No coincidences.
Yeah. But he helps me with my readings when he barks at spirit.
Amazing.
There's time I can look at him and see who he sees.
Wow. And
I'll just say, sometimes I'll ask him, who do you see? And a name will pop in my head.
Wow. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen a psychic medium with a dog sidekick.
He's amazing.
That's so cool.
I used to do readings in my house, and I had a woman come. Actually, she just came back to me years later. And she said to me, I don't want to hear from my dad. I started to connect her dad, and she said, I do not want to hear from him. He was on here. He was on Earth. He was not a good person. My dog jumped off the couch, sat next to me, and started growling.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he absolutely sees them. Sometimes he'll jump around, and, I'll see that someone's playing with him. I got that there was a girl in spirit that used to play volleyball, and he looked like, a ball was jumping at him.
Wow. So let me ask you a question. You just brought up a good question in my mind, because I know Janice, my wife, when she does get messages during Reiki, she specifically kind of has a deal, right? Like no death, like with her guides or wherever she's getting message from. Is that the same thing? Do you bring messages that might be bad news, or do you try to always bring good news, or is there any sort of...
I don't. Someone once told me that I would die very young. And it took me a really long time to get over that. And I realized how hurtful and painful that was. Um, she also once said that she couldn't connect to spirit. And she said, well, they have nothing nice to say to you. So she blamed it
Wow.
on me, But these are all
Wow.
great lessons. And I don't bring it up to talk about somebody, and I've never
Sure.
say
No, no.
name. I mean, it was
I
someone in
asked.
another
Yeah,
country
yeah.
years ago,
Sure.
But
Yeah.
the reason why I say that is I realized I would never say that to someone. But I told Spirit, if you do that to me, I'll quit. There's a couple of rules that I've had.
Right.
They used to show themselves physically, like in the physical form. And I said, if you do that to me again, I quit. I can't handle that right now.
Too much. Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't get a message that someone's going to have an accident or someone's going to pass or something like that.
Right.
I get things that empower you, that would allow you to make a change. So, for example, I'll say, I see you drive, wherever you're driving, I smell alcohol. I feel it. And they'll say, well, I just drive a few blocks and I'm going to like a friend's house. And I say, well, there's a reason they're bringing that up. You're paying me, sitting here. I'm just here. And that's what I
Right.
get. So someone is putting in the energy to get me to tell you smell of alcohol while you're driving. You can add 2 and 2 and figure out what can happen if you drive drunk.
Right.
Or I'll say, I'm aware of a younger person driving your car. Maybe they have a college student, and I'll say, it feels like there's 4 people in the back seat with 3 seatbelts. I get things like that, very specific. And then you do with that as you wish.
Wow. Interesting way to handle that kind of a message. Yeah.
Yeah. We sort of have that deal.
Wow. So I've got a question, and then are you down for one more reading?
Absolutely.
Okay. So Bernadette is saying, I think I've been remote viewing. I'm not sure how to stop it or train myself. I guess that's not really a question, but do you have any thoughts on somebody who thinks they've been remote viewing? How would they know?
Remote viewing is interesting. Set your intentions that you want it to be for a reason, not just to be nosy and check out what your neighbor's up to. So like I do remote viewing and readings, usually at the end, if there's time, I'll say, I'm just going to take a walk around your house. And, I'll say things like, I feel like you have a light bulb that's out in the front, or, the banister's missing something, or the step is loose. And it's kind of almost fun. Or I've said other things like, hey, I feel like there's a car across the street that's out of place. No one knows whose it is, and things like that. So there's a need, there's a need and there's permission. Hey, do you want me to see if I notice anything in your environment? There's a ditch in your backyard that needs to be fixed before someone falls, or different things like that. So if you say, Bernadette, if you're working with someone specific, ask them. And what you do get is the ability is a gift that you've been given, and just never, ever take it lightly. I keep everything sacred.
Feel into it. Yeah, I think you just gotta feel into it. Yeah, and she's saying anything for me, please, and I think that was it. that was it. And then I know there's a great Sacred Spiral viewer out there, Kay Weezy, who actually says, "Can I hear from my grandmother, please?" and gives you specific information, which is interesting because I know like a lot of mediums don't like that, but I feel like there's a reason he's bringing up. She died December 28th.
Oh, yeah. People say, again, rules. Don't say anything. Sit there, just stare at the medium. Who's comfortable with someone just staring at them? So if you tell me something and I only spit back what you told me, I'm clearly not connecting. If I say 10 more things, well, then that just helped bring the connection better.
Right.
Kay Weezy. So is that a male?
Kay Weezy is a male, yes.
Okay. Um, First, I pulled a card for you. Your soul radiates a beauty that no mirror could ever capture.
Mm.
And I truly feel that this sort of goes along with the message that spirit would want to be giving you. I feel like you don't, not that you don't let yourself radiate, um, but I do feel like you have sort of this bright light with like a tent over it. So I think you have a lot of wisdom to offer the world. Do you know him at all personally?
I don't, but I definitely, I mean, I do through I watch a lot of the Sacred Spiral shows. He's in the
Oh,
audience
yeah.
very often. I
So
know he's,
specifically,
yeah.
knowledge. I feel like you have a lot of knowledge to offer the world. And sometimes our knowledge sounds weird to people. Maybe you channel it, maybe you just know it, maybe you just know weird things, but embrace that.
I love that. And I was going to say, like, I totally resonate with what you're saying. He often asks about questions about, his dad. And I think this is the first time I heard him talk about his grandmother. But he says, yes, you're spot on. He's a rapper.
Oh, very
So
cool.
that's
Yeah,
very
so the
cool.
knowledge, put it out there.
It's a
And
great way to
you're
express yourself, K-Weezy.
and it's very important that your grandmother is telling you, we're good here. Like, we're good. I'm okay. No breathing issues. No, I feel like something in the chest. Um, no more restrictions.
Mm,
So
mm,
I
mm.
hope I
Interesting.
hope that
I love
helps.
when those messages come through when somebody has like they were uncomfortable, before they left, and
Yeah.
they assure the people, their loved ones, that they're comfortable now, and not to think of them that way.
And
I
not
love
to focus on the physical body. That's just a vessel we were using.
totally,
Um,
totally. Amazing. I love these messages. I love your energy. I love your story. I love you coming on
Thank
my show last minute like
you.
this. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
this was
do.
awesome.
I want to just bring back Bernadette for a second because Bernadette was asking this earlier and I forgot, and she's just reminding me. Um, on top of the message, she says, "Does she have a twin or half of her heart and spirit? She feels miserable and incomplete, and I guess that's kind of a specific way to feel. Is there any reflection of that message that you're feeling?"
Oh, Bernadette, I feel miserable and incomplete. So, to me, that, and I'm not saying anything that we haven't all heard, miserable and incomplete to me sounds like you're struggling a little bit, and with depression. If not depression, maybe you're just depressed right now. Um, that's not something I would necessarily like to address in a public forum like this. But if it's okay with you, I would love to offer Bernadette a private reading.
Beyond okay. That's I'm honored. I'm honored that you would even do that. And
Depression is something that's very near and dear to me. I almost lost my life to it many years ago, and I am so proud to say I battled, I won that battle. And it's tough. And there are many different ways to help someone. You might need a therapist, you might need a psychiatrist. I'm none of those, but I can connect to what you're feeling.
Mhm,
And it's
mhm.
hard, you go to a therapist. Sometimes it takes a year to get out what you're really feeling. You sit with a psychic for 10 minutes and it's like, oh, you know, you feeling this? Okay, I felt like that too. And then you have a conversation about it. So
Mhm, mhm.
Bernadette, reach out to me. I'd love to hold that space for you in my own way that I can. And
Amazing.
not something I can just,
Yes, amazing. Laurie,
you know,
that's I cannot tell you how grateful I am for for you to do that on my show, for me to even feel
Oh,
like, to me to feel
if we
like even
don't
a
connect
little bit
back,
of a part of that, right? To
yeah,
make that
absolutely.
connection.
You connected us, and then maybe she could come back and tell you. Maybe she could be
That
a
would be great.
guest,
She
tell you
asked
what
me,
it's like.
how
You
does she
know.
reach out? So edifyyoursoul.com is
Yep, my
Laura's
phone
site.
number and email is on there. You can text me
There
or
you go.
email me.
You just got
Edifyyoursoul at
permission
Gmail.
to directly text. You just got permission.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. Amazing. Amazing. She says, thanks so much.
Hang in there,
That
Bernadette. I
means that.
always say,
Yes,
if I
definitely.
got through it, I know for sure you can.
And I know Bernadette is always out there watching these shows and definitely attracted to this energy, right? That's
Yeah,
being transmitted across the Sacred Spiral Network. So there's a reason for that, Bernadette. And actually,
absolutely.
it's funny that you say, Lori, I do often I have a message at the bottom of my show sometimes. Hey, do you have an interesting story? And I've had people from the Sacred Spiral audience, Kim Princess in particular, who just started reading tarot and started feeling into her gifts. And I had her on my show as a guest, and then on my show, she was invited onto two other shows to just be a guest. And so like
Oh,
it's
that's
like
awesome.
again, it's just about creating our own
Yeah,
reality here, you
we
know what I
have,
mean? And just
yeah, we have to all help each
doing
other,
what
you
we can
know?
do. Angelo, thank you so much for being there and for giving me content to talk about. I love you, buddy. Thank you so much. Any
Thank you.
last words before we sign off?
Um, oh, she has a podcast. Any last words? You know, I'm gonna say if I can do it, you can do it. I feel like this kind of took a spin to like mental health awareness.
Hmm.
And you know, a lot of people suffer, a lot of people still don't talk about it. But I see you, I hear you. If I can help you reach out, um, just hang in there. It does get better. And
Totally.
if it's not better yet, it just means you're still in the game. You know, this if you
Absolutely.
look at life as a game, we're here to learn.
I
You're
love
still
that.
in it.
I love that. And just I just feel compelled to say, if anybody wants to reach out to me as well, I've been told that I've missed my calling as a therapist, and again, my philosophy is I can't deny anybody of their experience. I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm actually here to hear all the great stories, even though it might not seem like a great story to you. Like Lori's saying, these are opportunities to learn and to grow and to just kind of be like, okay, why did this happen to me? What can I learn from it? To just to kind of take another look, not like
Yeah.
life is happening for you, not to you, right? That kind of thing.
Real
Amazing.
quick, I'm sorry. I hate
No,
to be the
no.
one that does that. There is someone's brother here, a little
Okay.
brother, and I feel like they passed in a drowning. And it is really important for you to know they are okay. They're great. Live your life. Live your life because you're here to live and enjoy and experience and love and not to live with pain and suffering. I know it was a horrific event to go through, and I'm so sorry for that, but he's okay.
Amazing. Amazing. What a cool that's actually a cool final words, right? You have anything else to say? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I do. Somebody just showed up and wants to say okay, and actually interestingly enough, Bernadette who says is there a twin
me.
missing or something missing is
Oh,
like my brother
interesting.
passed as a baby. I don't remember what happened. He visited
Yeah,
me and he was a man, so maybe this is all related, Bernadette. Maybe
maybe.
maybe we've got a good podcast coming up, episode coming
I
up on your
think
podcast.
so. I think so.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you.
I remember Ocean. She says, "Wow, it all unfolds right here on Holding Space." Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, I was supposed to go, not him. This is getting it more interesting. So I'm gonna. I mean, it's time to go for Tuesday night, but I'm gonna say to be continued. This episode, we are either gonna hear from this on Laurie's show, on Bernadette's show, somewhere. We're gonna hear the continuation of this
Absolutely.
story. So thank you guys for all being here. And I
You too.
actually have, I don't know if you know, she's from Long Island, but I have on the live stream of consciousness on Thursday, I have Sandy Gornata. Um, she's a well-known psychic on Long Island, and I'm super
Ah,
excited to have her. I remember coming across her early on in my journey of starting meditation and kind of my introduction to all of this stuff.
ah.
So I'm super
Maybe you should
excited.
have a little Long Island show one day.
That would be kind of cool, right? Featuring
Yeah.
all the cool people from Long Island. Thank you, Kathy, for being here. Thank you, Julie. Arnie says I love Sandy. Ninja Kitty, thank you. Another amazing show. Thank you. I couldn't do this without you, Lori, and I couldn't do this without all of the people out there receiving this amazing stuff. So thank you guys, and I will see you
Okay.
guys on Thursday.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great night, people. Bye.